Hello, and welcome to this screencast introducing you to GMDE Lite, my geological mapping program for mobile devices. My name is Rick Almendinger, and I'm going to lead you through some of the basics of GMDE Lite today using the app as displayed in the simulator for the development system. So I'm not actually using a real device. So there are a few things that I can't show you, but there are a lot of things that we can go through. And we're going to start right from the beginning. This is what GMDE Lite looks like when you start it up for the very first time. You're asked permission to use the device location, or for the app to use the device location. And if you want to get the most out of GMDE Lite, you should use allow while using the app. And then you're greeted with this dialog box, which says, this isn't going to look like much until you set up a project in GMDE Lite. So that's what we're going to do today, is to set up a new project and then go through some of the basic aspects of the device. So we click OK. Now the new project is set up going to the settings screen, which is identified or accessed from the gear icon in the upper left corner. You click on that, and near the top you see New Project. So we click New Project here, and I'm going to give it a name, Northeast Adirondacks. You want to put your name in for the geologist because all of the observations that you make are tagged with your name. And now we need to enter a base map. We click the base map button here and go to the folder in the document folders that has the data that we want. And all base maps are in the form of MB tiles. And I've set one up here, so we'll click on that. And it tells us that it was successfully loaded, and the name is listed here. You can change the base map after you've set up a project without changing the project itself, but you need to set up a base map to begin with. Now we need to enter the digital elevation model, or DEM file, by clicking this button. And we go back to the folder. Now, GMDE Lite can read two different types of DEMs, the grid float format, which ends in FLT, which is what this one is here, or the BIL format DEM, which ends in period BIL. We click on that, and that's now loaded. You can enter a description for the project if you want, but we're just going to save it. And when we click Save, there's an important decision to make. Whenever you make observations, you tag them with the type of observation they are. There's a multitude of reasons why this is important and useful. So for example, if you draw a contact, you want to tag it as whether it is a stratigraphic contact, or maybe a fault, or maybe an intrusive contact. So there are two different types of lexicons for different types of observations you can make. One is the lexicon used by the StraboSpot public database for structural geology, sedimentology, stratigraphy, and so on. That has a very rich and very detailed and rigid lexicon, and so on. Or you can set up a much more free-form default lexicon where you can identify your own types to be whatever you want. The StraboSpot lexicon, if you're going to upload to StraboSpot, you want to choose StraboSpot right from the beginning when you set up your project. In this case, I'm going to hit default here, and I'll do another screencast talking about StraboSpot later on. Okay, we hit default, and we're all set. We're returned to the settings screen, and when we go back to the map screen, here's our map. You tap and drag it around. You can pinch to zoom out or to zoom in. You can see around the borders of the image, there's a red box that shows you the limits of the digital elevation model. Hopefully that overlaps mostly completely with the image, and so on. So what are some of these other buttons? Let's go through the toolbar here at the bottom. On the extreme left of the toolbar, the upward to the right pointing arrow toggles on and off the device GPS receiver in the program. When you tap it, a dot appears on the map showing you your current location. And your location is displayed in small text up here. And it also gives you the elevation. Because we've loaded a digital elevation model, we know the elevation of every point on this map. Now, importantly, this also gives you the uncertainty in your location, which can range widely. And if you're going to make observations, you want to wait until this uncertainty level drops below 20 meters or so to get the best precision. Now, a trick for the location is the following. Let's say that you want to keep the GPS receiver on and centered on your current location. If you simply tap anywhere in this text bar here, you'll see that the screen will not go to sleep and the device will track your orientation. This is helpful if you're trying to navigate to different places, but it can also run down your battery very quickly, both because the screen is on all the time and because the GPS is on all the time. That turns off automatically when you turn off the GPS receiver. And when you turn it back on, it does not come back on until you tap here again. In the bottom left corner of the screen is the zoom level. You can see we're zoomed in to level 16, and a scale bar is shown in the lower right. This next icon, this funny angle arrow icon, gives you access to a variety of measurement options. You can do something as simple as get your current location. And I simply drag this around, and when I let it go, it shows the latitude, longitude, and elevation at that location. Notice, by the way, that by default, GMDE does not put the hot point underneath the pointer, but is displaced above the pointer. That's because if you're using your finger on an iPhone, that is so you can actually see in some detail the hot point that you're trying to set. If you're using an Apple Pencil on an iPad, you probably want to set that offset to 0, which can be done in the settings screen. We can also measure distances. To measure distances, you tap and drag to set the first point, and now you tap and drag, and you can see the red line is showing you the distance between the 2 points, and at the top of the map, it shows that you have a distance of 1.2 kilometers on an azimuth of 0.57 degrees and a topographic slope between the beginning and end point of minus 1.4. When you let go, that same information is reported to you here. Now you're also given another option, and that is you can just dismiss this by clicking OK, but you can also show a profile along that distance that you just measured, a topographic profile. Let's show the profile. There it is. This is the profile screen. We can adjust the vertical exaggeration down here and so on. What are some of the other things you can do with the measure tool? Well, you can draw a path or a contact. So perhaps I want to outline this bedding surface. With the offset of the pointer, it's a little bit difficult to set the starting point, but that's okay because we can erase the points at the beginning that were superfluous later. So now we've just drawn in a contact. I could show a profile along that path that I just drew. I could save it as a contact. It automatically shows me the length of that path and so on. I'm just going to click OK in this case. You can record a track Because I'm doing this in the simulator, that's not very useful, but this is will turn on the GPS receiver, and then the display will follow you and draw a contact along the path that you walk or drive automatically until you turn it off. The next option down here is Sketch on Map, which is quite a unique feature of GMDE Lite. So let me show it to you quickly. There are lots of times when you're mapping when you just want to make a quick annotation to show other people what you're doing, but you don't want to make that part of the map. Well, this helps you do that. You click on Sketch on Map. You get some new tools down here. This tool allows you to set your pen size and transparency and color and so on. Let's pick magenta and make a pen size of 10 and make it partly transparent and so on. And then I can draw on here wherever I want. So you can see here, you can circle things that you want. If you want to undo the last thing, you can click here and that will undo that. You can erase it and keep drawing. Once you tap the measure tool again, you leave this mode and whatever you drew goes away. So this is not a mapping mode, it's just an informal annotation mode to help you communicating to your class of students or your field partners or whoever. The final option in here is Rangefinder. Now, again, because I'm in the simulator, I can't show you how the Rangefinder works. So those are the measure tools. Now, let's set a point of interest. We set points of interest with the plus button in the circle icon on the toolbar. And when we click that, we can set a POI at the current location, tap the map, or if you have a latitude and longitude pair copied to your clipboard of your system, it will give you the option of using the system clipboard as well. Let's tap the map in this case. So we come down here and maybe we want to set one right there. We're taken to the POI details screen and go waterfall. I can set the description here. I set the type here and can choose any one of these. This is going to be a photograph because I have a photo from near this spot. If I want to take a photograph, I click the camera icon, but I can't show you that in the simulator. So what I'm going to do is grab a photo out of my photos library by clicking this, which is the photo libraries button. And there they are. And here's my waterfall picture. And there it is, pasted into the POI details. Now, when I set any data point, it's automatically saved as soon as I go back to the map. There's no save button that I have to press. When I go back to the map, you can see there's now a little icon here with the waterfall labeled and a little camera icon. If I click that, it tells me what it is, gives me latitude, longitude, and elevation, and there are a variety of things that I can do. I can move it, I can delete it, or I can go back to the details screen to actually see the picture, and there it is. Now, one of the nice things about GMDE Lite is that it has a full screen version of the photo, which I click here, and now I have the full screen. I can drag it around. I can zoom in and out with pinch gestures and so on, and I can annotate it using the same types of tools that I annotate before. To annotate it, I click on the pen with the swirl button over here on the left, and then I can click here to get this to set the pen color and size, and now I can annotate the photo just by dragging on it and writing what I want. To record the annotations, I have to click Save. But let me do that in this case. Save, and then close. And now you'll see the thumbnail view has my annotation. It has become a permanent part of the POI. Those are points of interest. Now let's do an orientation. Let's find a nice bedding surface. This image shows bedding surfaces especially well because what I want to do now is do a 3-point problem to calculate an orientation. And this tool down here, second from the right-hand side, shows me the tool icon. So I click on that, and then I have some choices. I can place it at my current location. I can tap on 3 points, and the orientation will be calculated automatically, or I can tap on 1 point. We're going to do the 3-point one for right now. So I click that, and now the map screen is just waiting for me to tap on the 3 points. Now the point is set when you lift your finger from the glass. So there's the first point, here is the second point, and over here, let's put over there, is the third point. And the program immediately calculates the orientation. So now we can go back to the map, and there's now a strike and dip symbol, which occurs always placed on the second of the 3 points that you click at the point I click. Now, if I click that orientation like that, there are a bunch of things I can do with it. And one of the most interesting is to project a contact. GMDE Lite can actually draw contacts for you based just on the orientation and calculating the intersection between that plane and the surface of the Earth. So we go project contact, and it has drawn a contact here in the cyan color. And you can see that it's not it didn't capture this bed so great. So what we can do is tap on the orientation again, select it, and now I'm going to move point 3. So now here's where point 3 was initially. I'm going to reposition it up to here. And when I let go, it automatically recalculates the bedding surface like that in real time while you're waiting. And that looks a whole lot better. But eventually, I might want to convert it to a regular contact. So you can tap Convert to Contact, or if you don't need it anymore, you can remove it from the map. Let's convert it to a regular contact there. The final view here is an Apple Maps satellite view, which only works if you have a cellular data connection. And it's not really for collecting data. It's just for getting a quick view of an accompanying satellite image or road map if you're trying to navigate somewhere. When I click on the Apple Maps button, we zoom right in to the area in the middle. It does show you the orientations that you collect and the points of interest. Here is the little camera icon of the photograph that we added, but you can't really do any mapping in here. Many of these tools are grayed out, and you can only set your point of interest or an orientation at your current location. The map will show you the current location, and there it is, that blue dot. Right, so normally you won't be using Apple Maps except for navigational purposes. The one final button here that I want to go over is the data list button. When I click on this, it gives me a list of my points of interest, orientations, and contacts. Here you can see the waterfall one. If I click on it, it will take me to the details screen for that point of interest automatically. Go back to the data list. If you swipe left on it, you get 3 different buttons. You can delete it, you can show it on the map, or you can go to the details screen. If I click map, it takes me back to the map view centered on that point of interest. The different screens show you basically similar things. Here's our orientation that we just did, and here's the contact that we just did. Now, there are a bunch of other things and other details about using this program, but I'm going to stop there and hope you found this introduction to GMDE Lite useful